Thanks, and thanks everybody for joining. It's really wonderful to see so many old friends and some new friends, and to get to share this time with Badil with you. This is John Coonrod. I was the Hunger Project's first volunteer back in February of '77, and I'm still here. This period of, and I also want to introduce Badil. Badil Majumdar, if you've not met him, how many, let me look at a gallery view a second. How many folks, raise your hand if you've been to Bangladesh? Woohoo, okay, that's great. Or if you've met Badil in New York or at some other event. That's great, so it's about half. So my colleague, Badil Majumdar, is quite a remarkable fellow. If you have studied management, you've heard of Peter Drucker, the great guru of management. Peter Drucker wrote Badil's recommendation to go to grad school. This guy came from what was then Pakistan to the US, war broke out. He stayed here, he got degrees, he worked as a professor, and then when democracy returned to Bangladesh, Badil picked up and went back to Bangladesh and took his family, all of whom are American citizens, to move back from beautiful state of Washington to beautiful Bangladesh. And then Joan Holmes and I met Badil in April of 1993. A journalist who was a friend of ours there dragged Badil over to meet us. So Badil, can you tell us what attracted you to come hear about the Hunger Project and then take it over?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank everybody to join this webinar and have an opportunity for me to meet everyone. And also, it's nice to be back in Southern California. I say back because I was there in 1970 as a graduate student at Claremont Graduate School at that time. Now it's called Claremont University Center, I think, or Claremont University. So in 1970. So it's nice to be back. And I have a lot of fond memories about Southern California. And so now I'll answer the question. Well, at that time, John said that in 1991, when democracy returned to Bangladesh, I came back to play my role in making it a democratic country and hunger-free and prosperous country. And then one of my friends, a journalist, took me to this meeting, and John and Joan were meeting a group of volunteers who registered the Hunger Project. And they were badgering John and Joan about the project, what they are going to do for the people of Bangladesh, what project they are going to finance. And I stayed quiet for a while. Then I opened my big mouth. I said that, come on, guys, and let's think about what we can do for ourselves. And they are here, obviously, to offer their partnership. And that's how the relationship started. And John tells me, John told a lot of people that he wrote a note to John that hired this guy. And so this is how it started. And so this idea that hunger and poverty and a better life, hunger and poverty will have to be ended by people themselves. And we'll have to achieve a better future through the effort and leadership of the people themselves. And that's what attracted me to Hunger Project. And that's how the relationship started. And that was in 1994, long time ago.
Long time ago. But very quickly, Badil stepped forward in leading this organization. And as you know, COVID is not the first disaster to hit Bangladesh. Bangladesh was born in a civil war and then in a famine, and is subject to all kinds of cyclones. Those students that he spoke to who had formed the Hunger Project had really been the first responders to a number of cyclones. And so in this COVID-19 situation we're in, this is a unique moment in history. You know, there's a very famous Indian writer named Arundhati Roy, and she wrote a piece when the pandemic broke out. She said, you know, for billions of people on our planet, even though some of us are really wishing for a return to normalcy, nothing could be worse than a return to normalcy. She said, we have to see the pandemic as a portal that we can step through into a new world, and a world worth fighting for, the world we want. Now, that's what Badil did in that first conversation with the students in 1993, and has ever since then, that people have found their resilience and their real self-reliance in the face of this. And Badil just mentioned that hey fellows, there's a lot we can do on our own. And very quickly, Badil, as you started to mobilize and organize villages to set their own priorities and meet their own goals, you created something called the 40-point program. And this was long before there were the Millennium Development Goals or the Sustainable Development Goals. You had this list of 40 goals. And so tell us a little bit about that and the kind of spirit you evoked.
Well, the realization behind it is that problems are local, challenges are local, will have to be solved locally, and by people themselves and with the local leadership. And that was the idea behind identifying the things that people can do and putting it in a grid in the area of education, in the area of healthcare, in the area of environment, in the area of their overall improvements in their lives. And so that's what we put together, this 40-point protocol, basically identifying the things that people can do themselves with their own effort or with their own leadership and using their own resources and people working together. And that is the forerunner of MDGs and SDGs. And now, yeah, that's what's the idea behind.
Yeah. So the other thing that we evolved pretty quickly was the recognition that one had to start with women, that the subjugation, marginalization, disempowerment of women was the root cause of much of this hunger and poverty and oppression. So you grew up in a very patriarchal culture. What transformed you into the wild-eyed feminist that you are today?
Thank you. It's my growing up, and I was fortunate to be born in a family where my mother, using the American expression, owed the pants. She was the strong one. So my idea of empowering women, working with women, and trying to empower their leadership came from the realization that women are powerhouses, and if you give a little bit of space and a little bit of opportunity, they can create things that you cannot even imagine. So my mother was the one who taught me that, and I grew up in a poor family. My father died when I was still young, and my mother, basically with no resources, she managed everything and helped me become what I have become. And not only that, my father was traditional, and he wanted me to go to madrasa, religious school, and he wanted to marry me off. My mother said, no way. So here I am. And so I have seen what strong women can do. And so it's not charity. It's not feeling sorry for them, sorry for women. I have seen what strong, powerful women, given the opportunity, can do. So this is what stayed with me. And then over the years, it became stronger. And being associated with the Hunger Project just made it even more stronger.
Wow. You know, the 40-point protocol and the first training of women animators, that evolved as the world evolved. The world evolved into having Millennium Development Goals. And so these clusters of villages in Bangladesh that were really organizing to solve their own problems, we started calling those Sdg unions. And then now that there's the Sustainable Development Goals, there's the Sdg unions. And these strategies are very, very comprehensive, very organized. Can you just tell us a little bit about the Sdg Union Strategy? Because that's really the basis of how we're moving into COVID-19 response.
Okay, if you look at the challenges people face, the economic challenges, social challenges, then environmental challenges, governance challenges, including the democratic governance, inclusiveness, and all of those good things. And SDG includes all of those, and that's so, and they are all integrated sets of goals. And so we have realized that if you have to end hunger and poverty, overall improvements, bring about overall improvements in the quality of life, then you will have to address all of these things. And that's how we started with our 40-point protocol. So we embrace the SDG framework, which has been declared by the world leaders in 2015,
Right.
2015, yeah. And so to achieve that, what we have done, see, over the years, we have created thousands and thousands of volunteers. And we have started mobilizing the local government body, lowest level of local government body, like your cities. And in the rural level, it's called union, not labor union, but it's union. It's a clusters of villages. And so what we have done is that we force the partnership between people and their elected leaders belonging to unions or local government body, and build a civil society, a group of volunteers, students, the teachers, and people from all walks of life, even political activists. And they were the catalyst. They worked with the villagers to and mobilize them so that villagers become active to achieve the life they deserve to and they want to achieve, and work with the elected leaders so that they work in tandem with a shared vision of a union or a clusters of villages where the SDG goals will be achieved. So this is our SDG strategy, Sdg Union Strategy. Elected leaders, a group of volunteers, we call them as civil society, and the villagers. And we mobilized the villagers, and villagers formed what we call village development teams. They took the responsibility to achieve the SDG goals in their villages. And also we mobilized the poorest of the poor, and they formed the self-help groups. Most of them are women. So this infrastructure, huge volunteer infrastructure we have created, and they worked shoulder to shoulder to achieve better lives through achieving SDGs.
You know, when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, organizations, unlike the Hunger Project, who had development facilitated by outsiders, by staff, or quote experts, all those outside experts were pulled out of villages all over the world. But in communities like in Hunger Project communities and other organizations that have really built up community leadership and had that community leadership be the foundation of their work, those leaders have really stepped forward. So tell us a little bit about how the animators and the women leaders and the youth facilitators in Bangladesh have been tackling COVID-19.
Well, when the pandemic hit us all, and well, this was a shocker for everybody, all over the world, and so nobody knew what to do, how to react. So we thought that rather than wallowing on the challenges and on and the devastation that the pandemic caused, we'll do something that we can do, and we'll take action. So we basically leveraging on utilizing the volunteers, this network of volunteers we have started what we call COVID-19, or we call it Corona Resilient Villages. And you know, this virus is not going to go away soon. That's what the experts tell us, and we'll have to live with it. And even if there is a vaccine, we don't know how long it will take to reach us. So we'll have to during this time we'll have to adjust to the situation, and that's why coronavirus resilient villages. And again here our volunteers spearheaded this campaign. It's a volunteer led. It's a volunteer driven, community led approach where women are in the forefront, and also youth are in the forefront. And basically it involved what this initiative involved 4 steps. One, the bringing the community together and making a declaration that we are going to make our village COVID resilient or coronavirus resilient. And so realization that we are in it together. If one person is infected, everybody is at risk. So for our safety of the entire community, we'll have to make sure that everybody is safe. So that's the first step. Second step is to create awareness. We created a 3W campaign: washing hands, watching distances, and wearing masks. And also during this COVID pandemic, you know, violence against women increased, child marriage has increased. So, and also stigmatization of those victims who were infected. And so we created campaign against violence against women, against child marriage, and also against the stigmatization. So this is our awareness campaign. And the third step is people who are infected, identify them, and get them help, get them test, and help them isolate. So this is our third step. And fourth step is that, you know, the COVID-19 had multidimensional devastating effect, health effect, social and economic effect, and a lot of people lost their livelihood. You know, in Bangladesh, our economy is informal in nature, and people working in the informal nature constitute about 90% of the people employed, and most of them lost their jobs, and many of them are on the verge of starvation. So we mobilized the community, and they started what we call the community philanthropy. So they collected food, they contributed money and cleaning things, soap and all those things. And so emergency response. And we collected about $500,000 worth of goods and food. And then we listed those people
themselves, yes?
From the people themselves, from the community. Wow. And also what we did was that they prepared a list of the people and tried to get those under and enrolled under the government social protection schemes. So this is a 4-point step, and this has been highly acclaimed. And one of our experts said that if this is adopted, in 1 month, we could bring COVID pandemic under control, and we could be world leader, world example for the world. And so this has received quite a bit of acclaim and praise from the experts.
Awesome. Sarah, I see we're having questions coming in. Do you want to take on facilitating Q&A?
Sure, yeah. If you've got about 5 more minutes of conversation if you'd like, but I'm happy to move to Q&A.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. Well, Badil, the first question that we have that came in on the chat, Helen, would you like to ask your question directly?
Sure. So from all I've heard, Bangladesh is still considered one of the poorest countries in the world, and the Hunger Project is just doing amazing work, but I'm wondering to what extent the Hunger Project's work affects the majority of the country.
Well, we have been able to set new agenda, fortunately, and we have been able to mobilize large number of people. And this idea, you see, when I moved there in Bangladesh, and the condition was widespread dependency, and people felt that they need help. And in fact, I have a parrot story, and I could share some other time with you. We may not have time. And a parrot was raised at a cage, and it became incapacitated. It looked like, walked like, and in every way it's a parrot, but it could not fly because it never used its wings. And so that's what happened to Bangladeshis when I moved there. And this was a real life parrot experience I had when I moved to Bangladesh. So we have been able to confront that that mindset of dependency, hopelessness, and helplessness. And I want to thank John and Joan. And with their help, we developed a workshop, Vision, Commitment, and Action workshop, VCA, now used everywhere. And we created animators. So we created a cadre of people all over the country. We are the largest volunteer-based organization in the country. And these people are now the torchbearer of the idea of self-reliance. And so it's getting in the nooks and corner of the country. And also we have been able to change the agenda. See, rather than help, we are poor, give us more. We can take care of ourselves. Well, yes, we need partnership, we need help, but we'll have to take responsibility, and we are taking the responsibility. And also in the democratic and governance agenda, we have been able to wage a movement, we have waged a movement for a democratic governance where everybody's rights are safeguarded, and women are included, and environment is respected. And so we have been able to define the agenda. We have been in the forefront in defining this.
Also,
so we are very hopeful. We are very, very, very hopeful.
It's Bangladesh is no longer on the list of poorest countries. That's another fact. It's now called a lower middle income country.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
In fact, Henry Kissinger once said that we are a basket case, and we are no longer a basket case. We have come a long way, and so we are very optimistic about the future of the country. And in fact, if you look up in the literature, Google it, you'll find that many people are very optimistic about the future of Bangladesh.
So who's writing a book about this and how to make this happen in the rest of the world as well?
Maybe you can, you will do that, or someone from this audience will take that up.
Plus,
And
Kathy Burke
yeah,
is in the process of writing one.
Kathy Burke is trying to write one. Yeah.
Thank you so much for answering that. I'd love for Roslyn, you had a really good question, if you'd like to ask that of Badil.
Yes, I'm really impressed with this presentation today. And it's been an honor and privilege to know or to meet some people and get to know them from Bangladesh, such as Ambassador Chowdhury and Muhammad Yunus over the years out of my participation in the Hunger Project. And I'm wondering specifically how you eliminate or decrease the stigmatization of the not just COVID, but you know, with the woman and the mindset
Okay.
in your country.
Good.
In that, yeah, specific.
Okay, so stigmatization, you know, we work at the grassroots level where people live, and that's where the problem will have to be solved. And, you know, the person who is infected and who is stigmatized is relative of somebody. Somebody he or she is related to. So it's easier to solve that, address that at the local level, where he or she is not a nameless, faceless person. So that was useful, and also we have this volunteer network, and which has become very active, and we have been working to eliminate child marriage and also violence against women, and so already our volunteer forces are sensitized, and now they went into action, and they just initially everybody was in a shock. Then when we talked to them and we together realized that we must face this pandemic, and they went into action and created the environment where these things stop. See, in a community, when community says that we will not allow any child marriage, we will not allow any violence against women, that stops.
Yep. Yep. It's
When
quite
community
remarkable.
speaks, that stops.
We were, the global board was with Badil in 2014 in Bangladesh and at one of the SDG unions. And we had a couple of Indian feminists on our board who were there, and they were very skeptical about the ability of these grassroots volunteers to really make a difference. And the women leaders trained by the Hunger Project really took them on and started talking about how they had worked with the union chairperson to get his commitment to zero tolerance for child marriage, and then how they had sleuthed out, figured out all those sneaky dates when people might want to marry off their girls, you know, auspicious dates. And they would catch them and throw their bodies in front of the weddings, stop those child weddings, because it just is a total violation of that child's human rights. She loses her potential forever. And it was very impressive to see how these women leaders, subjugated for centuries, generations, had really come out swinging. You know, they had the ear of the local government. They were organized. They knew what they wanted to make happen and what they wanted to stop happening. And it was really inspiring, Badil.
And you will be happy to hear that. And some of you are in Bangladesh and saw it. We created National Girl Child Day in 2000 before the UN declared it. And we catalyzed the creation of Girl Child Advocacy Forum of several hundred organizations. So rights of the girls in particular, and rights of women in general. And so this is what we have started in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
Great. I wanted to ask just real quick, Helen had another question about what THP Bangladesh is doing on the front lines of climate change. And I know that there's some really amazing and specific work that's happening. If you have a couple of minutes to talk about that, and then I'd like to open it up to anyone else who'd like to share and express their thanks to Badil.
Well, Southern California is, California and West Coast is now experiencing what climate change, the havoc the climate change could cause. By the way, I was in Southern California when in 1970 when we had that big earthquake. That was not climatic though, and so climate change. Bangladesh is most vulnerable, and we will start to have already started refugees, climate refugees, coming from the coastal areas to the cities. And so we are creating awareness. And we are also helping people to create alternative livelihood. And most importantly, we are putting pressure on the government to do their part. And so we are working with the people as well as with the authorities. And also we are promoting tree plantation and other things that will protect us better against the climatic changes, against the environmental damage. And so these are the things that we are doing now.
Thank you.
This is a big issue and life and death issue.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all of that, Badil. Thank you, John, for facilitating the conversation. Sure. I'd love to open it up. As we talked about a little bit at the beginning, one of the goals of these webinars is to bring all of us together. It is important as the Hunger Project. We know we are a movement. We've been a movement from day one. And I am so honored to have joined that movement. And it's so much more than just, investing in a project and not thinking about it. It's about being a part of a family and leveraging our collective power to really make change in the world. And so I want to use this space to do that, to connect with one another, to remind us that we are all doing this together right now. Is there anyone who'd like to share or connect with either Badil or John or someone else you see on the call? I want to give us a couple of minutes. I mean, I'll just take this time to say hi to Joanna just because but I think she's. Get in there, Roslyn. Yeah, feel free to just unmute and share if you'd like.
I'm really empowered listening today, understanding what's so critical about working together at the grassroots level, wherever we find ourselves in the world, to empower one another, locally and globally, and seeing things from a much higher perspective, I feel is certainly not just inspirational, but enlightening in a whole new way. And I want to thank everybody here being on the call to see where we need to move forward in this collective consciousness that we're experiencing. Thank you.
Great.
Hi, I just wanted to say hello and thank you to everyone. Hi, Jim. We got involved with the Hunger Project a number of years ago and helped with, my husband and I and some other family members helped with an epicenter in Ethiopia. And I just feel like the whole concept of self-reliance, of women empowerment, yeah, we need a book. Who's writing the book? Because I think actually, and I thought this, 5, 6, how many years has it been, Jim?
It was 2007, Therese.
Yeah, longer than that. I just feel like the whole concept of how the Hunger Project works has been something that should have been announced from the rooftops, if you will, to countries and leaders of countries long ago. And it's absolutely critical that this way and this perspective gets transmitted to everyone now. I think we need this method of looking at a problem and saying, how can we help, or how can we empower women to make these changes? I think it's very applicable to the current time now. As it was back in 2007, I think it's still very relevant today. So that's what I'd say.
That's
Good.
Thanks.
Yeah.
oh, right on, Teresa.
Oh,
We had let me just respond for a moment. We have this thing called the Movement for Community-Led Development. And we've been having COVID-19 calls with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of grassroots organizations beyond the Hunger Project. And literally people are, these community leaders step forth, and what we're telling the government is they're not planning to step back. You know, you governments, folks, need to really start to support these community initiatives. And in fact, Badil and I spent 3 years chasing a planning minister at various UN meetings from Bangladesh. Badil, you want to mention the visit by that fellow out to the SDG Union?
Yeah, and last February, just before the pandemic hit us, and this is not the minister, but this is a senior secretary. This is the top bureaucrat. So he took a delegation of about a dozen people of his colleagues, and went to see our work in one of the upajalas. Upajala is made up of unions. Unions are clusters of villages, as you know. And he was in awe. And they want to, he's the main person for implementing, achieving the SDGs. And he was in awe, and he wrote 2 newspaper articles, basically acknowledging the what we have done, and that's and basically recommending that's what the government should be doing. And so we have been in the forefront, and thanks to your support and your partnership, we have been leading the way. And talking about writing book, John said that Kathy Burke wants to write a book. And in fact, one of our Australian friends wanted to make a feature film even, but it didn't happen. So yeah, this story is perhaps worth writing about.
Anybody who wants to, lots of people should write books. I actually have a reading list going back to a book written by Pearl Buck in 1945, the Nobel Prize winner, about community-led development and self-reliance. So there actually is a reading list. The challenge is transforming the mindset of the government officials who see themselves in this top-down position where everything has to be accountable to them, to really what we call shift the power. That's our big hashtag, shift the power, to put public resources and decision-making truly in the hands of community people. And it's really starting to get some traction. It's in the last 3 years, I would say, I've seen it gain more traction than in the previous 40. And so I'm really optimistic. So yes, everybody should write a book. I've got one half written in my computer. But even more importantly, we need to take seriously a profound mindset transformation. It is for government people to relinquish that iron, paternalistic, patriarchal grip of power. But it's, it's happening. There's whole countries that have done it.
And not only by the government officials, our work was recognized. It also recognized by the international experts. 2 professors from Columbia, one from Princeton, one from Cambridge, wrote a paper published in American Academy of Sciences proceedings. And so in terms of academic recognition, that's as best as it can get. So yeah, it's recognized not only by experts, but also by the practitioners and policymakers. We are very happy about it.
Yeah, thank you. Gretchen, I'd love to invite you to share.
Hi, thank you. Badil and Jim. Badil, you sold me way back in San Jose a beautiful, beautiful hanging, which I have in my living room, which looks like one behind Jim Goodman. And I look at it every day, and I look at different parts of it, and wondering what exactly each person is doing and just imagining. And so thrilled to have that connection with Bangladesh every day. And I'm looking at it. In fact,
Good.
I want to have a story about each person. It's so exciting. Thank you.
Great.
That was precious.
Great.
Thank you.
So I'm happy that you are you feel connection every day.
Every
That's
day.
great. Good. Great.
It's the centerpiece of my living room. And let me just thank you for saying
Hi,
that,
Jim.
Gretchen. I feel the same way. And let me just jump in and say hi to Therese, and just to say that it's so amazing to have you reconnecting with the Hunger Project. And I know that you really haven't been away, because you've been fueling the work of Feel Good during these last several years since you and Barry completed your underwriting of the epicenter. So you haven't gone away, but I know you're reconnecting now with the Hunger Project in a whole new way, I hope. And I look forward to catching you up, because the questions you asked, I mean, there's so much great stuff going on. You'll be, I think you're going to be quite enthralled with what you hear about your Hunger Project. So I'm looking forward to a coffee with you and in the near future.
Great.
Great to see you.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hi, Badil. I'm great. It's so wonderful to see you.
This is the tapestry that was made in Bangladesh. This is all handmade. And it's
There
a
it is,
story
everybody.
of a self-reliant village, I think. Yeah.
My first trip to the developing world was before I was on staff. When I was, as I had been an investor for several years, I went to Bangladesh. Was my first trip, and I was like a little duckling who imprinted on Badil. So it's just, there's nothing like that first experience. And for me, Badil, it's like it's the closest I'm going to get to being around Gandhi. And it's just it's been such a amazing journey with you since 1982.
Thank you. I'm humbled, and we have been friends for so many years. I stayed in your home, and it was it has been a very, very productive journey for the relationship that we have built over the years. Thank you, Jim, for staying with this work.
Of course. Thank you.
Speaking of Mahatma Gandhi, his birthday's coming up October 2nd, right around the corner. Last year here in Washington, D.C., we held a full-day seminar to convince other organizations to eradicate one word from their vocabulary: beneficiary. They treat people as beneficiaries, not as the key change agents to a better future. And we had several of the big relief organizations eradicate the word beneficiary from their websites, their proposals. So on October 2nd, do what you can to transform, the human service environment in your community to really respect people as the authors of their own development.
We'll be celebrating that too on October 2nd.
Yeah.
And I'd like to invite Gina to share. We're going to do one more after you, and then I'm going to call us to a close.
Okay. Badil, I haven't met you, but my really, really good friend, Vicky Selig, couldn't make it today. And she also has that tapestry hanging on her wall in her living room. And we're in Seattle, and you've spoken in her living room before. So I'll make sure she gets this recording, and she'll be very sad not to have gotten to directly say hello to you. So on behalf of Vicky Selig, she loves you. She was very excited that this event was happening.
Say hello to her for me. Yeah.
I will.
And Seattle also, I consider myself a Washingtonian, and I lived in Seattle and Seattle area for a long time. I taught at Seattle University. I taught at the WSU, Washington State University. And that was like my home.
Yeah.
Or my home before I came back.
Yeah. Well, Vicky introduced me to this work, and then we went to some big events, and then I think we stopped participating for a while. And then just in the last year, I said, Vicky, we gotta go get ourselves reconnected. So we had a little chat with Joanna Ryder, and we got all reconnected. And then I just got to have a call with Liz Burt the other day, and I was like, Vicki, it's all happening, and there's epicenters, and they're becoming self-reliant, and there's all this stuff. So anyway, she will watch this recording and be very enlightened.
Great.
And then Emil, I'd love to invite you to share.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to thank you, Badil, and also all of you, John and Jim and Sarah, well, everyone. And I want to thank you for the contribution that the Hunger Project has been to me to go out and speak and empower other people. And one thing I wanted to share is that my mother had to beat me back to death when I was born out in Deming, New Mexico, after drinking the water that people used to throw dead animals into the reservoir because I got sick and turned blue. And I know that the Hunger Project, throughout the years, I've heard of, making clean water available to people, drilling wells and making sure there's not arsenic or different type of biological pathogens. And that's just one very small aspect, but very large, because without clean drinking water, it's difficult for us to maintain good health. And as an artist for 38 years, well, actually 56 years, I've been making art, but for the 38 years of my participation with the Hunger Project in different capacities, I've been able to publicly speak and create art projects that were directly related, with speaking of different issues with hunger. I know that a little blind girl, I was coached by to use Braille as an art material after Senator McCain invited me to design 3 toys for a blind preschool. And I used the Braille and made a 33-piece cut and folded Braille exhibition of sculptures that was to speak about the kind of blindness to our like excessive use of materials without actually taking the time to think about how resourceful we could be with the abundance of materials that we have, and also people's sensitivity to touch. And I got to acknowledge the Hunger Project in different interviews and press releases regarding just that one. That was one of 10 public art projects I've created out of being inspired, through the work of all of you and all the members, the millions of people that participate with the Hunger Project. So thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too.
Yep.
And Badil, Karen asked a great question in the chat that I think would be a really good closer. And you've done a wonderful job talking about how Bangladesh has responded to the challenges of this year, how Bangladesh was set up, was formed. And I'd love to know, even personally, what is one thing on the horizon for Teach Me Bangladesh? What is one sort of goal planning for the future as we close out this conversation?
Well, we are, as I said, that some senior government officials went to see our work, and they thought that this is the way to go to help achieve the SDGs. Achieving SDGs meaning people's overall improvements in life, overall improvements of their lives, and so we want to forge a partnership with the government and help achieve the SDGs that will end hunger and poverty as a society-wide issue in Bangladesh. So that's what we are aspiring to do, and that's what we are committed to do. And I want to thank everyone for their partnership. And I know many of you were in Bangladesh, and some of you I'm meeting for the first time, but it has been an honor to be here. And I also want to especially thank John Holmes and John Coonrod. They made my life meaningful, and they gave new purpose in my life through their that I met them and became involved with the Hunger Project. And this helped me to become available to the people who could make their lives richer, their lives more fulfilling. And so I want to thank all of you and your partnership. And so it has been an honor. It has been a great privilege to spend this time with you.
Well, thank you, Badil, and thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone, I just want to plug the recording of this. It'll be on YouTube. And also, Badil's team produces the sweetest little videos of stories of people's lives, of stories of a village that goes through and convinces you how they're solving every one of the 17 SDGs, of girls who have stopped child marriages. They're all on the en.thpbd.org website, and great tools for sharing with people, because we're looking for a lot of people to underwrite these SDG unions. And so just any outreach you can do to share these stories would be just deeply, make a huge difference in the Hunger Project Bangladesh. And,
yes, we do need people to underwrite those SDG unions to carry this work forward. So I invite all of you to invest. And also my wife, Tazima, some of you met her. She says hello to everyone. So she may see you in Southern California. Her sister lives there. And so
the website again, and Sarah, are you able to chat to everyone?
Yeah, I sent it earlier, but I can definitely send it again.
Yeah, send it again because it scrolls off. EN for English .thpbd, Hunger Project Bangladesh, thpbd.org. There's also a regular thpbd.org if you speak Bangla.
Great. Well, that's it then. I will close this out. If everyone wants to unmute and say goodbye, I think it's a lovely energy. Thank you, everyone.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Hey,
everyone.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Badil. Thanks,
You
John.
all.
Thank you, so. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. Thanks, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you, Ashley. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.